Breaking Down the Law is sponsored by Battle-Born Injury Lawyers.
Well, we learned not long ago that the Trump campaign announced that it will request a vote recount in Wisconsin. So what are the rules for these recounts as we wait for states to certify the elections? Well, we're breaking down the law with attorney Matt Hoffmann of Battle-Born Injury Lawyers. Perfect timing to tackle this one, Matt. Obviously, a lot still remains up in the air. So we know the race is tight in several states, including right here in Nevada, where they're more or less tied, separated by about 8,000 votes. So, the first question, is there a uniform process for requesting a recount, or is it automatic for all states?
And the short answer to that is no. The Article 1 of the Constitution leaves it to the states to run their elections, and that includes how to run their recounts. So depending upon what state is involved, you're going to have a different process. In some states, they have an automatic recount, depending on, it has to be within a certain margin. In other states, you can request, you can just request a recount. In some states, you can request a recount if conditions are met, as far as the margin being small enough. And in other states, they have kind of a hybrid. So there's no uniform way to do it, and it's going to depend on what state is involved.
Okay, well, let's talk about the states still in play, and what the rules are for those states, including here in Nevada.
Yeah, so starting with Nevada, anybody can request a recount. It's going to be at your own expense, but you can request a recount, and there's no requirement that the margin of victory be, within a certain percentage. Obviously, you would expect it to be a close race for anybody to, take on the cost and expense of a recount. But once the election is certified in Nevada, if there's a recount requested, it can be made within 3 days, and then the process starts. That's the same with Wisconsin. So Wisconsin has the caveat that the race itself has to be within 1%. So President Trump's team has already indicated that they're going to request a recount, and the vote there is within 1%. So that is his right. And I believe that his campaign has to pay for it. But if you're successful, you don't have to pay for it. But again, that varies by state. The interesting one is Michigan. So Michigan is like Nevada in that you can request a recount, and there's no margin of victory requirement. However, you have to allege that there's some kind of fraud or mistake that was made, and you have to specify what that fraud or mistake is. And if you don't know what it was, you have to specify why you believe there was a fraud or mistake made. So, Michigan, I do expect to see a recount requested because there, President Trump is trailing by less than 1%. And I know that there was a lot of votes that came in late for Vice President Biden. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see a recount requested there. Arizona, basically no chance at a recount. You can't request one. It's automatic, but it's only automatic if you're in, I think I had to write it down. It's like 1/10 of 1%. Has to be the margin, so like 2,000 votes. I haven't seen anything to indicate it's that close in Arizona. And then North Carolina, there's a hybrid model. You can request one if the margin is within 0.5%, and if you're successful and it sways the election the other way, then the other candidate can do another request, and if it sways it back the other side, then there's an automatic state-by-state or a vote-by-vote recount in North Carolina. President Trump is currently leading by around 2% in North Carolina, so I don't think that's likely. And the same goes in Georgia. There's no automatic recount there. You can request it if it's within 0.5%. But there again, Trump is leading by, I believe, 2% there, so I don't see a recount occurring there. But the overall theme here is that, in these tight elections, you're going to see recounts. With mail-in voting, we're seeing a lot of change. And I think you're going to see a lot of lawsuits to contest the counting of those ballots. And remember, all it takes is one mail-in ballot that, let's say, has a mistake on it that did get counted, and another ballot that has the same mistake that didn't get counted. And if that occurs, you're going to see the lawsuits, because you have grounds to say, hey, we either count all of them with this mistake or we count none of them.
Well, we'll definitely be checking back in with you, Matt. Didn't mean to cut across you there, but I tell you what, you've done your homework, that's for sure. And I'm sure we will definitely be checking back in with you as this continues into maybe the next few days, weeks. We will find out along
hope
with
not.
you.
I hope not too
Yeah, I'm
long.
sure a lot of people across the country hope not either. All right, thank you, Matt. Appreciate you. We'll check again
All right,
next
thanks.
Wednesday.